Hey guys, I'm back here with Jason Hunter with Sage Law Partners. Today we want to talk about probate. It's an issue that hopefully we can try to help you guys get around this issue when it comes to your own personal estates with a really good estate plan that we've talked about with Jason in other videos. But I think that a lot of you might be dealing with this unintentionally from some of your loved ones who maybe have not prepared appropriately with their own personal estates. And so I wanted to give Jason an opportunity to talk to us about probate. First of all, what is probate?
Yeah, probate, first of all, is something that everybody is afraid of. It's one of those mythical beasts, the financial planning, legal world. Probate in and of itself is just a process to clear title. When someone is not available to act, we need a clear system to know who can act on their behalf. That's really what probate is. There's
really two purposes for this. I mean, you've got an opportunity for someone to not act because they've passed away, right? But talk to us about incapacitation. I mean, people have medical issues where either they're either comatose or they have dementia or some advanced, kind of issues as they get older. Does probate come into place there too?
It does. Everybody seems to be afraid of that death probate proceeding. And generally I tell people, well, that one's not quite as bad as the sister probate proceeding, which would be the guardianship conservatorship proceeding. And that is exactly what you had mentioned, where maybe mom or dad has dementia, Alzheimer's, is suffering from some other condition that they can't go out there and act for themselves. I see this come up a lot where kids are coming in and trying to help mom and dad downsize, and then they show up at a closing or go to list the home for sale so that they can liquidate some assets, and they realize that mom or dad can't show up at a closing. And so then we've got to go and file a proceeding. That proceeding is called a conservatorship proceeding, and usually we'll get a guardianship as well. The conservatorship side is to manage the assets, and the guardianship side is to manage the actual physical care of the person.
And so when you kind of consider this, I mean, again, I guess I would say that our hope between the two of us with our client base is to make sure that when it comes to your estates and your assets, this is an avoidable thing. But I think what Jason's also, effectively saying here is when it does affect maybe one of your loved ones and you're the one that's being thrust into needing to be able to handle these assets and deal with it, it's not a big deal though, right? I mean, it's nothing to be really afraid of.
It is certainly a circumstance where if you embrace it earlier on and roll through it, especially with that guardianship conservatorship proceeding, it will be easier. The death probate proceeding is usually really inexpensive by comparison to other legal proceedings and quick by comparison to other legal proceedings. I'm talking maybe $2,000 to $5,000 in fees,
okay,
and maybe 15 to 90 days in terms of the lawyer's role after death, assuming there's no outside litigation, which in most cases there is not. There's plenty of horror stories out there about that. So while that death proceeding can be easier and run a little bit more smoothly than most people think, that guardianship conservatorship proceeding, that living probate, it's pretty heavy.
Okay.
It can be costly. It is an emotionally heavy thing. It requires that a judge find the person legally incapacitated. And that's not something that you or your parents really want to have a judge saying in open court. So it is more costly. Death probate, probably less costly. We have a great system for that. Living probate, more costly, more time consuming, more emotionally burdened in my opinion.
So if I could really ask you to be thinking about one thing in particular, again, if you think about your own personal estate and you don't have the estate plan set up, we're kind of addressing the big elephant in the room of this is the reason why you want to have your own estate affairs addressed and set up properly by Jason. We want to avoid those moments. And I think the cost becomes far more significant when you don't have that set up versus if you were just to kind of get your affairs organized. But if you're thinking about some of your loved ones who you might be called upon to assist in that situation, and if they don't have that estate plan set up as well, now's the time to do that as well. But if you find yourself in that situation where you're being thrust into something that might involve one of these probate scenarios, do give Jason a call. He'll help you walk through all of those particulars.